Hey everybody, Garcia here, and today I'm taking a look at these starter investigator decks for Arkham Horror, the card game. These are all standalone products. You can buy just the ones you want, and I'm going to be doing a video for each of them individually. Right now we're taking a look at Jacqueline Fine here, the Mystic investigator. She's going to have some very fun push your luck ideas in her deck. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. So here is Jacqueline Fine, the Psychic. She's got an ability which says when an investigator at your location would reveal any number of chaos tokens, reveal 2 additional ones, and then from the reveal ones you can cancel 2 non-tentacle tokens or the auto-fail one. And you can do that once per round. Her Elder Sign ability, +1, if this effect is canceled or ignored, draw a card. She's got a 6/9 stat, you know, that makes sense for one of these Mystic investigators. And then on the back, you'll see her deck building requirements, a little history, of course, of who she is. You'll notice all of the characters in this line of starter decks are going to have very simple deck building rules. Just Mystic cards, neutral cards. That's it, nothing too crazy there. So we are going to take a look at some of the cards that make up her deck. You'll notice she's all about drawing a lot of these extra tokens and then choosing some things to keep, not keep. And of course, I think Mystics do a decent amount of flipping up tokens, not for tests anyway. So let's take a look at that. We begin here with her signature card, this Arbiter of Fate. It says that when you use her ability, and that is this ability right here, you can instead exhaust this and use that ability again. So it overrides the limit once per round. If you've got this out, well, you can now do it twice per round. Pretty simple, neat idea. We've got her signature weakness here, Dark Future. Revelation, put this into play. You cannot cancel or ignore any of those symbols there. And then Forced, at the end of the turn, reveal 5 random tokens from the bag. If you get the Elder Sign, you can discard this. I think it's very interesting that there isn't a controllable way for you to get rid of this weakness. You have to get lucky, hit that symbol. To be fair, if the bag is fairly small and you're looking at about 15, 16 tokens, you've got a 1 in 3 chance to get this out of the way. And it's not like it's going to particularly punish you anyway if you are not pulling any of these tokens. So not necessarily feels like it is going to impact every single one of your turns, but also not something you can readily get rid of. Then we've got a new basic weakness here. This one is you reveal it, you put it into play. After you reveal, cancel, or ignore the auto-fail token, take 1 damage and 1 horror. And then you can discard this one for 2 of your actions. Very situational. Again, it should not be too much of a problem. If you're drawing that token a lot anyway, you're probably not doing well. So I think this is a fairly weak basic weakness. And by that I mean not particularly impactful. I like it though. If you're trying to go for something that is that ties into that madness, that towing the line, it might not happen very frequently, but when it does, it's going to hit you for 1 and 1. Then some of her cards in the deck. Scrying Mirror here is going to take up 1 of your hand slots, has 4 uses, secrets. After a skill test at your location begins, you can exhaust this and spend a secret, and you perform the Reveal Chaos Token step after committing cards instead of before. Very, very cool. I like that card a lot. Very interesting. You're not going to use it all the time, of course. You want to make sure you save it for tests you must pass. But I do like the idea. Prescient. Max 1 per skill test. After you commit this to a skill test, you name even, odd, or symbol. After the test ends, if a chaos token of the named type was revealed during that test, you may return a spell card from your discard pile to your hand. Very neat. I like that the artwork is shared with Jacqueline here. I like the idea. Very simple and straightforward, but I love this push your luck vibe that a lot of her cards are going to have, including this one right here. Here's another one. Crystal Pendulum. The Crystal Pendulum is going to give you +1 to her willpower. After a skill test at your location begins, you exhaust this, you name a number, and if the skill test succeeds by that number or fails by that number, draw a card. That's great. Again, not reliable. really, but you can take a pretty good guess at what you think it's going to be. But I do like it. I think it might be tricky to make it hit. Coupled with her ability, it's going to be a little easier because you can cancel the thing that isn't going to give you that. You have an extra chance basically to hit this and get that card. But that card draw is going to be a big deal. Here we've got Clairvoyance, a little costly at 4. This one has 3 charges. You spend a charge, you investigate. You are going to use your willpower instead of the usual stat, which is a 5 for her. Very good. If you succeed, you discover an additional clue at your location. And then if you revealed one of these 3 tokens, the +1, the 0, or the Elder Sign, then you take a horror. Here we've got Voice of Ra, an event. It says gain 1 resource, reveal 3 tokens from the Chaos bag, and if you hit any of those, for each one you hit, you gain an additional 2 resources. This could end up being very, very powerful. It could end up being an even better emergency cash, but it's also could be just the one resource. You might not hit one of those at all. I like it. I think it's neat. It's another nice way to get some resources into the game, and of course it is free, which makes sense. It shouldn't cost anything, but it could eventually, it could ideally net you 7. How frequently is that going to happen? How likely are you to reliably get that? Not very, but it could be, if you hit just one of them, it is just an emergency cash. You're getting 3 for that. If you get 2 out of the 3 you reveal, you're making bank at that point. Pretty neat. All right, so that is some of the cards. I wanted to just highlight her own main signature card and her weakness, the new basic weakness, and then 5 cards from her deck. Now we're looking at some of the cards that come in the deck that you can deck build with. So we have a new slew of these classic cards that are neutral. They've now been souped up and they have been given a class. So for example, Guts was a card that ended up in a lot of decks, but now it's been given an extra symbol here, has been tied to the Mystics here, to the purple color, right? And then it has an ability here that reads max 1 committed per skill test. Same thing. If the test is successful, draw a card. Same thing, but 2 instead if you succeed by 2 or more. Very nice, and you'll see in the other videos I'm doing for this line of starter investigators that there's one of these souped up from originally basic cards for each of those characters. Just about. So that is Guts. Here we've got Eldritch Inspiration with some fantastic, freaky artwork. Fast, so not an action. Play when you would resolve an effect on a Mystic card that triggers when, if, or after a Chaos token is revealed. Either cancel that effect or resolve it an additional time. Some nice flexibility there. And yes, playing this Mystic kind of card, it gets a little bit tricky, especially when it's coming in an Investigator Starter Deck. But still, the flexibility here is pretty good. Here we've got a grotesque statue, been printed before, just not at this level. The only other one you could get was, I believe, 4 XP instead of just the 2 XP right here. So you can get access to something like this a little bit sooner in your campaign. I like that. It uses 3 charges. If it has no charges, discard it. There's just clarification text. That always is the case for uses some charges. When you would reveal a Chaos token, you can spend 1 charge. You reveal 2 instead. You choose one to resolve, and you ignore the other one. I like that. I like having this card available a little bit earlier in a campaign, or just more cheaply if you're building your own deck. Then we've got here Recharge. This is another one that was available before at a different cost. This one says, choose a spell or relic asset you controlled by an investigator at your location. Reveal a token from the bag. If you reveal any of these symbols, you add 1 charge to the asset. Otherwise, add 4 charges to the chosen asset. This is very costly, mind you, but this is going to recharge a spell or a relic by quite a bit. At least 1, possibly 4. That is huge, but it is going to cost you a lot to get to this point. And then lastly, we've got this card right here. Uses 4 charges, spend 1 charge, fight. This attack is going to use the willpower Again, I'll move this so you can see how good this would be for her. Use that stat instead of that stat. It's going to use willpower instead of strength. You get +2 and deal 1 damage for this attack. And then again, if you reveal one of the good tokens, then you take a damage after that. You've danced with the devil, and you are going to pay for it a little bit. This would be pretty bad for her, considering that stat is low. So there you go. That is Jacqueline Fine. A very interesting character with some very neat cards. I do like the push your luck feel of the character. If you enjoy playing Mystics, which I think are not necessarily a very new player-friendly class of characters, but I think if you want to mess with a Spellslinger, then this is a good one to do that. It's not my favorite of all of the decks, but I think it's a solid one, and I do like all of the manipulation of the Chaos Bag and the extreme focus on that Chaos Bag. And then just prediction, like cards like this one. So very neat. I like it. I would recommend it. I think out of all of the ones included in this cycle, this might be my, I would say this is the 4th, though, that I would get. Personally, I'm talking, of course, here about the specific things I like in the game, the specific classes I like and all of that. But yeah, this one I would say is going to be my 4th, just because I'm not a huge Mystic player. And I think this deck does some interesting things, but it can be a little unreliable. All right. So there you go, Jacqueline Fine, Investigator Starter Deck. Check out the other videos in the series. I'll see you next time.